Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm David Warnes from the Álamos History Association. And a couple of quick reminders. If any of you still need to pay dues, our due collector is right there waiting. She'd be happy to take your money. And this morning, we're proud to have our board member, Trini, come and talk to you about some various holiday season events that are common in this area and kind of get you caught up on all of that. We're not going to have anything else the rest of December, of course, because the Christmas season is coming up. We will, on January 6th, be having the movie Amarado. I hope I'm saying that right. We hope to see everybody there. I'm not going to spend too much more time. Pam, did you have some opening words you would like to say?
Only that this is, as you say, the last historical association meeting in 2024. And it is a treat to have Trini Rangel with us today, talking about major events in the calendar of celebrations in our part of Mexico. So go ahead with the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here you go.
I'll be presenting, and I'll ask David to read some information aloud, and then I will continue through the presentation and explaining and sharing pictures, even songs. Okay. On this presentation, I was asked to talk about Fiestas Decembrinas for December holidays. 7 are the most outstanding festivals that occur between December and early February in Mexico. The Day of the Virgin of Guadalupe, that's December 12th, is recently happening. And a lot of what we call velaciones is where families gather together to pray, to light candles, to share music, prayers, food as well. And it's a very high day to be celebrated in Mexico, and with the Mexican families as well as with the Mayo families as well. Like there was a huge pascola here with Licenciada Ruth Acuña on the way to Navojoa. That was outstanding fiesta. And the posadas, of course, from December 16th to the 24th. Christmas or Christmas Eve on December 24th. And the Day of the Holy Innocents, December 28th. Watch out for that one. They can play you a joke on that day. And the New Year, the 9th to 31st. And David, could you read that info, please?
Yeah, it's a full month of celebrations. It's marked with family feasts and lots of piñatas. Starting on December 12th and lasting until January 6th, Christmas celebrations in Mexico have their own flair. There are candlelit processions, elaborate nativity scenes, and Spanish Christmas carols, dancing, and fireworks.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we can see. I would say stronger or more in December, but we can see piñatas throughout the year because piñatas are common to be used on birthdays and as well as to celebrate kids' days too. And that's why we can see them in the mercado, probably indeed. They were making many piñatas to be prepared for the posadas, of course, and to celebrate the December holidays in this way. So piñatas are very, very traditional to use during this month. And the other one that it calls the attention is the elaborating nativity scenes. I don't see them anymore as I used to, though. But there is a teacher yet in Álamos. I think her name is Ursula, and she's magnificent at making these nativity scenes with mache paper is her specialty. And she is so good to do this, but I haven't seen her work for a while, you know, as I used to. Perhaps 10, 15 years ago, I used to see them and they were so good, I remember. The carols, the Christmas carols, yes. You know, majority of the schools, they have the carols, dancing. And unfortunately, fireworks, unfortunately, but many firecrackers, you know, we can hear them happening now until the New Year's arrive. Y ponemos la canción ahí. Sí, cuando la ponemos vamos a ir dándole aquí, conforme vaya dando. I am going to play a song in here that is very common and traditional to hear throughout the posadas. This is the way to ask for posada. Ignoro la letra. Atrás. Más para atrás. Haz el dedo. Thank you. I showed the lyrics and the song that is chanted in every posada. And the explanation on that is that the song is an exchange between those outside the house who sing as Joseph asking for shelter, and the family inside who sings as the innkeeper refusing them. The song is repeated a few times until the innkeeper eventually lets them in. When they finally chant, Entren Santos Peregrinos, is when they all come in and when the party starts, because they welcome Joseph and Mary. ¿Sigue, bro? Okay, David?
Now, Christmas in Mexico is not just a day. It's a season filled with joyous events. From early December to January 6th, Mexicans celebrate the Posadas, culminating in the grand celebration of Dia de los Reyes, Day of the Kings.
I was looking for a picture, and I think in this picture I capture a big part of Mexican folklore with papel picado, the piñatas, the Virgen de Guadalupe. It kind of starts there, where the fiestas are. A lot of people here, they said, okay, now it's coming Guadalupe Reyes, is what they say. So it's the celebration starting from the Virgin of Guadalupe and culminating with Dia de los Reyes, or the Epiphany. Okay. And Mexico's traditional piñatas. Like we said before, the piñatas, we see them everywhere. But the original meaning of the piñata was shaped like a star with 7 points. The points represented the 7 deadly sins: lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. The candies and other goodies inside the piñatas are the riches of the kingdom of heaven. The blindfold stands for faith. The stick is the virtue of the will to overcome sin. And the piñata's bright colors symbolize the temptation to fall into these sins. It's pictures could be shown of piñatas, but being in there, it's felt different. You can participate by hitting the piñata, or you can be far away to see how it's going to. All the songs, they start with the little ones that they know he or she won't break it that easy. So there is time for everybody to hit the piñata. Nowadays, I don't see as many piñatas as I used to in the past, too, because majority of the piñatas in the past, they had a clay pot inside. And now they kind of make it as mache paper. They inflate a balloon and start putting the newspaper around it and with the engrudo, or with the glue. But that's how I see they make them nowadays. Not as much as they used to in the past. Because I remember in my childhood, they used to have 3 or 4 sticks, because the sticks broke first than the piñata. That was in the past. But nowadays, it doesn't happen like that. So here is the representation. Dame la que sigue, bro. And food, we could have just a presentation on food. We could just have a presentation on food, but we know the tamales, the pozole, the buñuelos. Buñuelos on the left down corner. And of course, all the salsas, the menudo, barbacoa. It's a huge variety of Mexican plates that could be shared and cooked throughout these holidays. Especially the buñuelos. They are typical to find in houses or to be shared as well. Buñuelos are really good, and the sweet corn tamales too. And All of them, no exception. Oh, Christmas in Mexico is celebrated from December 12th to January 6th. That's how it's felt. That's how it's felt. It's when, it's when families start setting up their ornaments, Christmas trees, the Christmas lights, the candle lights. It's felt, the harmony and the welcoming in the families. And like, for example, when they start with the Virgin of Guadalupe and finalizing with Dia de los Reyes, when we get to see a lot of rosca being shared. I think they have a massive sharing of Rosca de Reyes at the plaza too that day. So they cut a lot of pieces and many people get the little child to bring it for the Candelaria Day to the church, to that mass, and to bring the tamales too. Okay. Okay, David?
Yeah, the Feast of the Virgin of Guadalupe, a 9-day religious celebration that takes place from December 3rd to the 12th. It honors the Virgin Mary's appearance to Juan Diego in 1531.
Yeah, every December 12th, the Basilica of Santa Maria de Guadalupe in Mexico City is painted in colors with flowers and illuminated with candles, receiving hundreds of pilgrims from different states of the Republic who travel to this place to visit the Virgin of Guadalupe. But it's a huge day, probably in our neighborhoods. They have little niches that we can see how they ornament their niches and set up flowers, wash it, light candles, play music, invite families, and play loud music and do the fireworks as well. But it's very typical to see. It's happening already. But like, for example, in my experience in Pueblo Mayos, we could go to different villages and they will be yet celebrating Virgin de Guadalupe in different pueblos mayos. This happened due that there aren't enough dancers. So majority of the dancers, they are busy on December 12th, on December 11th, and they are busy since 9 days before. It's when they bring the same down from the altar to take it to houses until they bring it back to church again for the fiesta. La siguiente, ¿verdad? In 1967, Pope Clement IX established this day as a holiday in honor of Virgin of Guadalupe. And in 1824, the National Congress declared it a national holiday. In 1988, the liturgical celebration was elevated to a feast in all dioceses in the United States. So a lot of velaciones. So it keeps growing. And perhaps when we travel north, or even if you travel south, you get to see the image in hills, in walls. It's represented, but it keeps growing more and more, Even I have traveled to different villages here in Álamos on rocks. You get to see the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe. I don't know if you haven't been able to walk up to Los Olipazos. There was a place up here called Los Olipazos before Norbert. Beautiful waterfall. The image of Virgin of Guadalupe is right there on a hill. Very beautiful Virgin as well. And las velaciones for praying. What happens in posadas, David?
Well, each evening during the festival, a small child dressed as an angel leads a procession through the streets of the town. The procession is primarily made up of children dressed in silver and gold robes, carrying lit candles and the images of Mary and Joseph riding a donkey.
Right? And they host a posada here in Hacienda de los Santos, or in the past years they have done that, so we can live this experience in here. It has been my experience. Esa cuando yeah, on the 24th, Humberto mentions here at 7 p.m. is when is when 6 p.m. is when the posada happens, and is when we can lead this experience as well. Okay. Las Posadas. Got my friend David helping here.
Okay, Las Posadas, a religious festival that takes place between December 16th and 25th. It commemorates the journey of Mary and Joseph to find shelter in Bethlehem. Each night, children dressed as an angel lead the candlelit procession.
Yeah, Las Posadas, as David said, they start on December 16 and last for 9 days for the novenaria to happen. So there are many parties and candlelights, parades to honor the birth of Jesus. Las Posadas, meaning lodge or inn, is a celebration where children in Mexico gather each afternoon to put on a play about Mary and Joseph travels to Bethlehem. A ver qué sigue. Nochebuena, a mass and a feast on Christmas Eve. You get to see the church is open late yet, and many families will go there for service on Nochebuena. And main meal be shared too. Many meals. La que sigue, güey. Bacalao. You know, a lot of people mention bacalao a lot. But I don't think it's that common here in Álamos, though. But what is more common here is tamales, champurrado, pozole, menudo. But I don't see bacalao much, though. A traditional Christmas dish of dry and salted codfish served with tomatoes, olives, potatoes, and capers. But not as common in my experience, though. Perhaps you have had it in the past, but it's supposed to be traditional. Rompope, a Mexican holiday cocktail similar to eggnog. It's a traditional Mexican eggnog. But besides the rompope, we have many others, you know. We have the ponches, champurrado, chocolate, café, so many drinks. But these ones, because they are warm, to be drunk warm, we bring these ones. And they put a little bit of alcohol on ponche, too, in my experience. But champurrado is very traditional. I think it's the most traditional. And that is cooked and drunk here in Álamos, in my experience. Rompope too. And David?
Well, other traditions include nativity scenes, poinsettias, Christmas trees, piñatas, Spanish Christmas carols, dancing, and fireworks. Some foods eaten during Christmas, they include pozole and tamales.
Yeah, the Noche Buenas, you know, we can see them outside of DIF. You get to see how colorful it is, that little spot in there. That's the one that I have seen. I don't know if you haven't seen another vivero, but that's the one. And I think in Tianguis, there is another person selling Noche Buenas too on Sundays, Sunday morning. A lot of Noche Buenas are there. Poinsettia. And Christmas carols. Ahora sí, danos la otra. Gonna play another song in here that is related to the Día de Reyes.
Llegando diciembre sin posada, me va acercando ya también la Navidad. El año nuevo que trae paz, y con ausencia yo traeré soledad. Ya te encuentras brindando en tu alegría. Recuerdo de mi amor te llegará. Tal vez evoque el calor de mis caricias y con tu voz al terminar te olvidarás.
Wonderful, Miguel y Miguel, singers. They are so good to hear in order for me to learn more Spanish. Now, why is Christmas on the 24th in Mexico, David?
Well, why does Mexico celebrate Christmas on? Well, due to Spanish colonization. Mexico is overwhelmingly Catholic, about 78% Catholic, and its traditions for Catholics is to go to midnight mass on the 24th, since they believe that Jesus was born at that moment.
Yeah, and then we have Misa de Gallo, Simba Gabi. Misa de Gallo is the Spanish phrase for midnight mass, more literally translated as a rooster's mass. But it doesn't happen at that time as it used to in the past, though. It doesn't happen anymore. I think it happens, starts at 8 or 9 now, something like that. But in my childhood, it was a midnight mass. And it is said that the rooster's mass owes its name to the idea that a rooster would have been among the first to witness the birth of Jesus and thus be the one to announce it. Do Mexicans celebrate Christmas on January 6th, David?
Well, on Dia de Reyes, kids wake up early to unwrap presents. Instead of Santa bringing gifts on Christmas Eve, the Magi, the three kings of the East, they bring gifts to good children on the night of January 5th. For this reason, many families in Mexico leave their Christmas trees up through at least January 6th.
At least I know that in Mexico, Dia, that's the huge day over there. Is when the children Santa Claus comes for them on Dia de los Reyes. Now, what is Santa called in Mexico? While in countries like Mexico and Venezuela, presents might also be brought by El Niñito Dios, the baby Jesus, or Santo Claus. That's the way it's called. That's what they ask, what is Niñito Dios gonna bring you? You could hear in some families. And then why do Mexicans stay up until midnight on Christmas Eve, David?
Well, midnight mass. And the last posada takes place on Christmas Eve, known as Noche Buena, and is followed by the late night mass, known as La Misa del Gallo, the Mass of the Roosters. So named because the rooster is believed to have crowed. The rooster is believed to have crowed on the night when Jesus was born.
And you know, the piñata and all the celebration happens that night. The food, family. What happens 9 days before Christmas in Mexico? Las posadas. Meaning of las posadas, the term posada means inn or lodge in Spanish. The celebration reenacts the journey of Mary and Joseph seeking a place to stay in Bethlehem. Duration, las posadas last for 9 nights, representing the 9 months of Mary's pregnancy. Festivities, group of people go from house to house, often led by children carrying candles and singing traditional songs, piñatas. Las posadas, the piñata is filled with candies and treats. Blindfolded participants take turns trying to break it open with a stick, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. Traditional Mexican foods and drinks are served during las posadas, including tamales. Okay? Now, what do Mexicans eat in Noche Buena, David?
A tripe and hominy soup called menudo is often made on Christmas Eve, Noche Buena, as cooking it can take as much as 5 hours. Bacalao dish may be prepared with romeritos, tiny green leaves that are often mixed with mole and potatoes. Tamales sometimes replace the turkey and Bacalao.
Yeah, but menudo is very traditional. You go to places and they offer you menudo. The piñatas, yet you know, they're so colorful. The Feast of the Holy Innocents, celebrated on December 28th, honors the memory of children who were killed by King Herod after the birth of Jesus. Although the Holy Family escaped Herod's wrath by fleeing to Egypt, the innocent babies of Bethlehem fell victim of this manic fear of losing power. The Day of the Holy Innocents is celebrated on December 28th, a day on which pranks are usually played on family and friends, in addition to borrowing money that is never returned. Watch out that day. Remember, put it on your Alexa or or your calendar. No, just be careful with that. Now, shoot guns in the air in celebration of New Year's Day and other occasions in Mexico as part of the tradition known as celebratory gunfire. This practice can also take place at weddings, after the birth of a child, and after sporting events. Many shoot guns. If you have been here on New Year's, you get to hear that. Celebratory gunfire can cause injury, death, and property damage. Stray bullets can result in random injuries and deaths, and shattered windows and damaged roofs are common after celebrations. So what I do is, okay, I go in the house. I stay in there because I know it's just gonna go for a little while, you know. It's not recommended to stay outside. Traditionally, Mexicans say to fill a glass with 12 grapes and then give a toast at midnight to your friends and family. The 12 grapes, as you might expect, represent the 12 months of the coming year. Tradition says the grapes will bring you exactly the many wishes for the year ahead. So it's put one in the mouth and ask for a wish. Put the 12 grapes in the mouth and eat them. That's how they do it. And Rosca de Reyes, we have that one, David?
Well, Rosca de Reyes, a tradition that originated in Spain, and it's eaten on Dia de Reyes, or the Epiphany.
Okay. Rosca de Reyes, or Roscón de Reyes, King's Ring, is a Spanish and Latin American king's cake pastry, traditionally eaten to celebrate the Epiphany. King's cake, or Roscón. What does it look like to you? There it is. A bean candy or small figurine of Jesus is placed inside the cake. Whoever gets the prize in their piece is responsible for taking it to the church on February 2nd, which is Dia de la Candelaria, when Jesus is presented to the temple. But if I was fortunate to get the prize, get the little baby, I know that I had to arrive with tamales that day. So that is a big day of tamales on Candelaria Day in Mexico. Many places where you go, you'll find tamales that day. David?
Candle Mass on, this is January 6th, but you must mean February 2nd. The arrival of the three wise men is celebrated with the presentation of images of Jesus as a child at churches.
Mm-hmm. So also known as the Feast of the Presentation of the Infant Jesus in the Temple. In Mexico, it is Candelaria. In some villages, especially Santa Clara del Cobre, the young girls bring Christ child dolls to the church to be blessed. Here we could too, and ask the priest to bless it too. The New Year's corrido is a tradition from Northwest Mexico that has become a fundamental element of Christmas celebrations. It is played immediately after the countdown to mark the beginning of the new year. The New Year's corrido symbolizes the farewell of a cycle and the new welcome of a new one, full of good wishes and hope. It is a cultural expression that goes beyond fun and is reflected in the identity and union of those who dance it. The corrido is a Mexican musical style that narrates facts or events accompanied by music and vocalization. It became popular during the Mexican Revolution when it recounted the adventures of the revolutionaries and their leaders. Y ahí lo ponemos el corrido así. Right. Thank you.
When I was here for Christmas about 25 years ago, there were 3 men on horseback dressed as the 3 kings that rode through our barrio. and 2 candies and kids.
Wow.
Don't see that anymore.
Yeah, well, I didn't see that either, but that's amazing.
Yeah. And also, they used to have out on the plaza, they used to have a little nativity scene. And then, Christmas Eve, they put the baby out there, but this year they just have created presents. They don't have a nativity scene.
They do on this corner.
There's one right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they do on the across from La Posta, right there on that corner.
Oh, okay.
I saw the.
Yeah, I've just noticed when there are nativity scenes, like the big one down at the plaza. We walk by there, no, where's the baby?
No, yeah.
It's not there yet. Because the baby doesn't arrive till it's time to arrive.
Right. Yeah, the same thing inside the church. Is the nativity in there, but not the baby yet. But they bring the baby on that Noche Buena or Misa de Gallo Mas. It's how they
So
bring it.
midnight guy on that is only around 10:30.
So did they change the pinata just because it's easier to make this one, or because it was dangerous with the? I mean, it sounded like they were it was a clay pot. It sounds like it's fun till somebody loses an eye.
I think they changed it here because they don't make the pots anymore
Okay.
as they used to.
Yeah,
Balama.
because I'm always just used to the balloon with paper mache. So I
Right.
never heard that there was a clay pot in it. Just using a clay pot with a stick. Let's see why it broke the sticks.
Now I remember we had a meeting in Itesca University, and many of the members were able to hit the piñata in the university. I don't know if some of you went there, but we had a piñata to welcome you to start the activities in that meeting in the university.
I do have a question. One of your slides early showed the Virgin of Guadalupe with the 3 magi. And I was wondering, is the Mary who goes on the posadas and is celebrated on Christmas Eve, does she carry the identity of the Virgin of Guadalupe in an important way?
Yeah, the Virgin appears in many places. They have the Virgin in many places and in many houses too, throughout the year. But that specifically day on December 12th, they bright her more to celebrate and to honor
Okay.
her day.
Well, there's also that virgin up there in Aguana.
Virgin Balvanera. Yeah, Virgin Balvanera. But I think there is another Virgin in La Campana. And
Oh, yeah, way back over there, the cave.
Virgen de la Cuevita. And yesterday was the last day to celebrate Virgin de Zapopan in La Capilla. So the little chapel was open for 3 consecutively days,
Yeah.
and they offer mass service in there for 3 days.
Oh, really?
Virgin de
Okay.
Zapopan. Yeah, that was open. It was really nice. Music and everything.
Hmm. Oh, well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for telling us. I learned new stuff. I must say, there was some new stuff here today for me. That was nice.